Welcome into another edition of SC Checks In, presented by First Texoma National Bank. We've got Southeastern head football coach Tyler Fenwick with us today. Coach Fenwick, what's going on?
Not much. It's good to see you.
It's good to see you too. So, as stated, Coach Fenwick, the head football coach, would have been going into year two this fall. Obviously, we had to adapt and overcome in some areas, and so we had a very unique fall with spring football being canceled. We actually had spring football in the fall, so I guess it was fall football. It's just so weird for me to say when it's not games and stuff happening. So, we kind of just want to talk about that and start there. And what was it like, being canceled? And, the summer, we had kids working out over the summer, but, what was it like being able to get back and start coaching these kids again?
Yeah, well, it felt great to get back out on the field. And I think, that leads into, just from everything from before as, we're going to postpone the season, we're going to cancel the season, and just all these changes and all these things that you had to tell your team, like, all these letdowns that you have, and then you come back and you kind of get in the weight room and it's just different. There's no fall camp. There was no, just like where you're the only one on campus for, the first 10 days or whatever it is. So there's a lack of structure that was kind of going on. And there's always just felt like something missing. And then, once we kind of got a little bit more of a schedule and we kind of got into a routine and classes started and workouts and then practice, it was like they got to put a helmet on and put the shoulder pads on and start doing football again. And I think that was, it was almost like, just from a mental health standpoint for these guys and the coaches, not to mention, but just to be able to get out on the field and, do what they love to do and the passion that they have for the game and learn and get better and, and have fun and all that stuff. So, it was much needed to just do that. And you sit there and you go, okay, well, it's unfortunate, you talk about the negatives of not being able to play a season. Well, that's what it was. So, I mean, you can't do anything about it. It's out of our control. So, what we can do is come out here and have a great practice and look at the silver lining of, how can we turn this into a positive and how can we kind of look at the big picture, and that's one of the things I kept telling our kids, the big picture is, the end goal is down the road. It's way down the road. But if we can take it one day at a time and one practice at a time and make it to the next practice and try to get through this semester, and then we'll worry about when we come back the next semester. And we made it, and our kids did a great job, and they just kept on rolling.
So how did it compare to like a normal spring ball? Very similar practice schedule, practice style.
Yeah. So, what we did, we didn't want to burn them out. And you get into that whole 20 hours of care and all that stuff. And I mean, you could treat it like the season and you could do you go every day, if you wanted to, but, we broke it down and we went, Tuesdays and Thursdays. And then we did some Saturdays and the big thing for us is, this was also a time for us where we got these freshmen in here and we got some transfers in here and these new guys and also the whole roster that's been off for so long. It was an opportunity for us to develop in the weight room as well. So we wanted to make sure that we were, still hitting it hard in the weight room and making gains and improving our strength and agility and all that stuff, but also being able to get football in. So we wanted to try to stretch that out and not burn our guys out with, football, too much where then it feels like I'll practice again. But so we go Tuesdays and Thursdays and then pretty much every other Saturday. And it was good because the weeks that we didn't go on Saturday, it was pretty much Thursday they would practice and then they'd be hungry to get back there on Tuesday, because it was kind of like almost just enough time to just make sure that we recover from the weight room, have fresh practices. So I think, just being able to stretch it out was good. And I think we got some really good work in. And I think, I was looking at it today. I think we got 850 team snaps, just 11 on 11 in some form or fashion where we can now study it and use that, next semester when we actually go into spring ball. So, as far as, I would compare it very similar to spring practice. And I think we pretty much structured it, almost the same way.
So, one thing that I've always noticed is when you report for fall camp, and you're a freshman or you're a transfer, there's a lot of moving parts. There's a lot of things that are happening, fast pace, get your student ID, get moved in, get enrolled, get your financial aid squared away, on top of having 6 a.m. practices, team meetings, and all that kind of stuff. Do you think this benefit our incoming kids? It wasn't as fast paced and quite frankly intimidating to some, that it might have made them think this isn't for me. Do you think that was a pretty solid acclimation for them just to kind of get, transition into that? And to be honest, not sending kids to a scout team.
Yeah, I think there's probably two parts to that. I think what we probably lacked early on the most was, normally in a true fall camp where you're slamming the schedule together, and there's always something to do. There's always, you got meetings, and you got maybe a lifting, and you got meals, and you got meetings, and you got practice, and you got another meal, and just their schedule is constantly. There's not a lot of downtime for them, and what that means is they're around their teammates a lot, and that creates team building, and it creates different things, eating together in the dining hall, and just building relationships over those however many days before school starts. And I think that was something that was definitely lacking, and we had to try to create some different things and some different ways to do that, and it took a little bit longer to do that because it just wasn't built in. So we had an evening of a carnival where we put together pretty much, I think we had like 10 different stations one night, and burgers and hot dogs, and 10 different stations of kind of a team building thing where they did I don't know, some kind of basketball trash can shooting, and I can't remember, we had wiffle ball out there, and I don't know, we had all these different stations, beanbag toss, that sort of thing. So and it was just a fun thing for them to do, and compete a little bit against each other and have some fun. It was relaxed, and just a way that and we kind of broke them up into, where it wasn't just the freshmen in one group. It was, we spread them out and made sure the upperclassmen were with the freshmen, and just tried to integrate the team. But I think that was really challenging. I mean, that was tough to do, and we really had to work hard at doing things like that. Stuff in the weight room with Coach Fears, having some different competitions and kind of bringing them together and things like that. But I think as the time went on, and I think it more and more as we got into practices, then that stuff really started to come together, because then it's, you have the DBs that are always together, and they're always working, they're doing drills together, and and then you start to see the older guys start coaching up the younger guys and kind of correcting the younger guys, and that was good. Now the flip side of it, I think, as far as these freshmen and the transfers, the guys that were new, like you said, normally they're gonna come in, they're gonna have about 2 weeks of learning the scheme and the terminology, and then after that, they're gonna go down to scout team, and they never hear another word of your terminology, and maybe a little bit here and there with a freshman young scrimmage or something like that during the year, but they're not getting the everyday work and attention. So those guys, they were thrown into the fire with some practices, and I think those guys made more gains in their freshman year than probably any freshman class I've ever been a part of. And then the transfers too. I mean, the transfers came in here. We had a couple that were in here mid-year, and then you're thinking, okay, we're going to get them through spring practice, and they're getting all these reps, and then we don't have spring practice. And so it was great for those guys to have this whole, this whole fall where they can, we're not throwing them into a game, and they've only had 2 weeks of practice, and all that, so obviously we'd all rather be playing, but you kind of sit back and you say, okay, what are the positives out of this, and how can we catapult that into the future, and the big picture of we're getting ready for fall of 21, and all these guys are going to get that much more experience and that much more reps, and I think in the long run, I think for where we're at in our program, being a staff that's only been here 1 year and trying to, recruit, the guys that we're recruiting and try to integrate, that team and the new guys with the old team and all that stuff. And I think it could benefit us
Right.
when it's all said and done.
Kind of headway into that, you talk about only being here a year, taking over. Depth was an issue for us last year. Talk about how that's changed with your position groups now, where we are depth wise, because I think that was one of the biggest things that I saw when we go out and watch practice is, we've got adequate depth at all those positions.
Yeah. I mean, I think the number one priority for us coming out of last season, where we had a chance to kind of evaluate what we have, what we didn't have, and what we needed to get was, the number one priority was the offensive line and just trying to build some depth on the offensive line and had some, we just had a lot of guys last year with very little offensive line experience.
Right.
And so, we went out and we got, I think we brought in 3 transfers that were 2 that came in last spring and then 1 for this fall. And James Walker, Daquan Montgomery, and Dylan Yandel that, are good athletic, good size, kids that were able to get into our weight program and build through our weight program and learn with Coach Throck. And, and then we made some moves too, where we moved another D lineman, Taylor Colley, over to offensive line. And I think it was a great move for him. And I think he's a guy that needs those reps and he needs that experience, and then on top of, just the guys that we had from last year that were inexperienced, that kind of had 1 year under their belt playing. Devin Mitchell had only played 1 year of offensive line. I think he ended up starting maybe game 3, game 4. And he was kind of learning on the run. And so he was able to, perfect, his craft and what he's learned and get better at it. And then, just all those other guys. But I think that was the big thing. We got to, we'll have another one coming in next semester, a transfer to kind of build that depth. But, that was the big one. And then the secondary, I think our secondary last year, when you look at the guys that were on the field were phenomenal players. But, we didn't have a whole lot of depth behind that. And, unless it was true freshmen, which we really didn't want to dig into last year. So, being able to bring in a couple guys in the secondary, Keyshawn Somerville, transfer from TCU, Jeremy Porter is a transfer from Eastern Michigan, and those guys getting reps, meaningful reps this fall were huge for us, so, and then the kicking game was a big factor for us that, felt like we needed to improve and both kickers from last year left. And so we brought in a transfer from NEO that Trey Keats, who's a Kingston kid, just down the road. And Jackson Nally was a high school kid who actually hit a 49-yard field goal Thursday night in our scrimmage. So that was good to see. Big leg, can punt. Both of them can punt and can kick. And then so I think just going out to practice and watching our kids practice and seeing all the different rotations that we've got and we moved some guys from corner to safety and those guys getting some reps there and just having some different, being able to have different packages rather than just having, we're just going to find the best guys and that'll go scrap and see what we can get, but we can actually kind of have a more of a game plan for who we're playing right now. So brought in a quarterback, a transfer quarterback, Riley Russell, and he was able to kind of come in and learn the system and, get these reps. And what's that?
Learning on the fly.
Literally learning on the fly. I mean, he got in here late and we kind of threw the book at him and said, okay, here it is. And it was like drinking, drinking water out of a fire hose for him. And it was just all coming at him at once, but it kind of started to slow down, had a nice game on Thursday night. And then, he'll be able to sit back and he'll be able to, in the spring, get all that install again and hear it again and rep it again and be able to compete, with those other guys. So, I thought it was valuable for the redshirt freshmen that we had. We're looking at right now, we've got 2 freshman classes that they haven't touched the field and hardly even practiced. And so, we've got all this youth that really needed just to kind of get in there and get their feet with. Gavin Colopy, quarterback from last year, redshirted last year. And he was one of those perfect example. I mean, he was with the scout team all year last year. And, so you go into, this year's fall practice and everything's new to him. And you kind of forget that, he'd been here, he missed a whole spring and didn't get all those reps. And so, he came along and so I think, I think it was, I think what we researched and what we found and what we've done so far, I think has improved our roster, our depth, our, the needs that we needed to be able to compete.
That's certainly what we were looking for. I would try to go to as many practices as I could. And I did notice day one, the kicking game definitely was much better and much different than before. So obviously you go out there and you see, the depth of the O-line, that makes you feel good. And then, you mentioned the defensive backs. We also added a defensive backs coach that started. And 3 days later, COVID happened. So we're excited to have Coach Gabe Elisario on the staff, former defensive coordinator at another college, and he wanted to come be a part of the Southeastern Savage Storm, and he's done an incredible job with our DBs for the short period of time he's had them. Yeah.
It was crazy. I mean, he came in and, he was like, meeting with Coach Johnson and learning the defense. And all of a sudden they said, everybody's got to leave. And, and so he went back home up in Kansas and, here's one of the things. I mean, he did an unbelievable job as a new coach coming into a program, not knowing his guys. And then all of a sudden saying, okay, we're going to have all these Zoom meetings and, being able to jump in and just say, okay, guys, here I am. This is who I am. And, and start coaching this stuff and adapting on the fly. And I think that's where it all kind of, really back. I mean, it seems like it was so long ago, but, just jumping in and I think our guys felt just the love from him, just how much he cares about his players and the way he, communicates with them. And it's not just about football, but it's about their lives and how they, how they handle different things outside of football and just sitting down and talking and things like that. And I think he's just been a really, really good addition to what we needed for where we're at right now. And he's picked up on the defense. The fact that he's been a defensive coordinator brings some knowledge and understanding and similar to what we do defensively. And so there's some similarities that translate, that kind of speed things up. And so we're fortunate. He's a very good recruiter. So we're fortunate to have him and very happy to have him a part of our staff.
I definitely agree there. So obviously when you come back in the fall, we're getting acclimated to this, the way things were, classes, social distancing. Talk about how it was an ever-changing environment for the staff and the kids.
Yeah.
I think, based upon, you talked about how all our student athletes, no matter what sport they play, we are conditioned to be routine-based.
Yeah.
Breakfast, class, weights, practice, film, study hall, in that area, or, depending on what season we're in. How did your kids take that on? And I think they did an incredible job. And talk about some of the challenges that you all faced with that, and talk about the student athletes and how they had to adapt and overcome.
Yeah, well, I think that we've got to give credit to the training staff and our the nursing, Nurse April up on campus, just the communication that we had and the protocols that we, put into place within the university and within the athletic department, and how we're going to handle, kids coming back on campus, and how we're going to handle being able to get out to practice, and
Right.
and how we're going to handle being in the weight room and maneuvering through the weight room and trying to keep the social distancing and wearing a mask and all this other stuff. And the technology that I think that we used, with the Sway app and our kids having to fill out their their forms, and whatever their, what do you call them, their temperature, and do they have any symptoms, and all that other stuff, and
protocol.
I mean, and that's all new. I mean, that's all something that these kids, they wake up and they go to class, you know what I mean? They wake up and they go to breakfast, and that's all something that completely new for them, where they have to learn to now wake up and fill out their symptoms, and do they have any, do they not have any, and all that other stuff, and then be able to,
every day. That's not just something
every
you
day.
get up and wake.
Yeah.
College kid sleeps in till 10 a.m. and gets it done. I mean, we had hard deadlines that if you didn't get this done by a certain time, you're not practicing that day. And so that's another thing you add to that student athlete experience, that, you've got to do X, Y, and now Z to be able to get on the field, let alone play. But you've got to do all this stuff to get on the field. And so I just want to give, again, like you said, everybody credit for what we had to do just to get football practice going, because football practice is a contact sport. You're up in everybody's face. But another thing we did is talk about the masks you bought.
So we ordered the masks that goes over or under the face mask to just kind of prevent the, I don't know, whatever the spit or the saliva, or all that stuff. So so that we purchased those and had our kids wearing those, coaches masked up at practice, and then on top of that, when after practice is over, our guys that are doing laundry, I mean, they're doing laundry, but they're also spraying the whole locker room down daily, before they leave at night. And so I think there was just, I think there was a lot of things in place, and to help us get through the process, and to help us get from, day to day. And I mean, I'll be honest with you. I mean, there's times where you're sitting there going, gosh, I hope we can get to the next practice. I hope we can get to, whatever. And then just keeping track of, I mean, inevitably there's going to be guys that are going to have to quarantine at some point or another because of whether they're, something in a class, or, gets spread in, just, all the, who knows what it, where it came from, or what, who's been exposed or whatever, but, and all the contact tracing and all that stuff. So, and then just kind of figuring out, I mean, it could be daily where you're sitting there going, okay, who do we have? How many old linemen do we have today that aren't, haven't been exposed, or that aren't in quarantine or whatever, and who's coming back, and when are they coming back? And, so you're sitting there, you're kind of going, okay, how are we going to, what's tomorrow going to look like? And, are we going to be able to get to Saturday? And, and then it becomes, I remember sitting there talking to the team the week before last Thursday, and just saying, okay, look, guys, you got the weekend, you got to do everything that you possibly can. We got to get to Thursday. We got to get to Thursday and get this game. We got officials and all that stuff. And our guys they were awesome. And just having to sometimes adjust, and, daily something changes, and we're going to move this practice to another day, or, whatever. And they just, whatever we told them that they, needed to do, they didn't bat an eye. They just, okay, coach, and we'll be there, and we'll do it. And, I thought it was as smooth as it, as it possibly could be, with all the different, things going on, and adjustments and all that stuff. So really happy that, I know, there's other teams that didn't, weren't able to make it, and they had to shut things down for a couple of weeks or whatever, or however long. But, I think, just, it was a team effort, within the university, and the training staff, and the administration, and Coach Baxter, and that, we're able to, get through this thing and finish it off on a good note.
Mhm. So we've completed fall football. So, one positive looking forward is we're going to get back into that routine of what it's like being a student athlete or football player at Southeastern in the spring. Weights, film, coaches are recruiting, spring football again. And I think that can only benefit us. And so, me taking back and looking at the totality of everything that we had to deal with, there's a ton of positives that came out through this. We had a lot of guys, like you said, get reps that needed reps. Of course, with our team coming off the season we had and not having a spring ball, that's probably the best thing that could have happened to us, because we wouldn't, you're putting a lot of people in a tough spot to go play a season, especially not having a spring football with a new coach, new people coming in. So what are some other positives that are going to carry us and transition us? And we'll get into the spring in a minute. Some other positives about the fall.
I think we were able to really get a good evaluation of who we have. Perfect example. A kid, Jalen Shaw, phenomenal corner. He's a freshman, true freshman, very good corner. Showed us a lot of good things. But then you sit there and you go, okay, if we were playing, with the depth that we really didn't have in the secondary, well, he's a guy as a true freshman that may have to take meaningful reps where, normally you'd like to redshirt a guy and be able to develop him a little bit more and get him more comfortable and all this other stuff. But now this was pretty much a redshirt year for him where he got a lot of meaningful reps. So, that's going to help us build our depth. But I think, being able to sit there and really look at, just who we have, who these freshmen are, who the transfers are, who we can now project. We truly can project how they translate to the college game and how they hold up against, Braxton Kincaid running a post route and can he cover him? Or, Josh Horlick, who's a D lineman freshman, and going up against, James Walker at right tackle. You know what I mean? Just, you can kind of, and they get a chance to, get a chance to feel what it's like to go against a guy that's been in college and kind of get used to the contact and used to the speed and all that other stuff. And so I think that's just that evaluation and that experience. We can sit there and now and say, okay, this is what, this is who we have. And maybe there's still a guy that we need to go, find a transfer here or whatever, and kind of fill in a spot or two. But it gives us a pretty good idea moving forward and where we need to continue to build this program from what we had last year. And I think we've had a great start. I think we've recruited really well. I think our kids are, the other thing too about, this, our last year, we're going into the fall, the coaches and the players, that we've, inherited, and those guys having to learn a new language, basically, they're learning a new terminology. They're learning, it's like going to another country and having to learn a new language and try to speak their language, and you're trying to piece it together and you're trying to, but now we're at the point now where we're all speaking the same language. We're speaking the same terminology. When we call a play, or we call a defense, they know what the terms mean. They know what the definitions mean. They know, how to put it together, and you can, where now you can make adjustments a little bit better or easier, because you can say, or you can say, hey, remember when we called this against this team, we're going to run that again, and we're going to put that in and just reference, different things. And so just the overall communication. And I think what's really fun to see, and this has always been the case for me, but when your older guys, or your starters start coaching the younger guys, and they start helping them out because they know now, they know what terms to use, what vocabulary to use, and when a quarterback and a receiver can go talk the same language and goes, fix a route on their own without me having to, constantly go around and start coding. But that's because really what it comes down to in the, in a game, those guys are gonna have to communicate on the sideline. They're gonna have to communicate between plays. And so now they're all on the same page, talking the same stuff. And that's fun to see when I look out there and, maybe there's some kind of a miscommunication or whatever between an offensive lineman, and they're communicating back and forth and fixing the problem and finding the solution, so that we can get on, and we can get away with that right now with and that's why, that's what I tell them. That's why we practice. There's going to be mistakes at practice, and that's why we do this now, and let's get them out of the way. And I look back at the fall game, I guess, last Thursday, and just offensively, I think we had one holding penalty, and I think we had a delay game penalty, which I blame on Matt for running the clock. But no, but it's last year, we would drive the ball, and we'd go 60 yards on a drive, and we'd be in the red zone, and all of a sudden we would have a busted assignment, or we'd have a major penalty, and we'd take a sack, or we'd have a holding penalty that would get us out of field goal range, and we'd be stuck in third and extra long in situations that we didn't want to be in. And I think when I look back at at Thursday, it was we didn't have those penalties, we didn't have those big mistakes that were game costing mistakes and drive costing mistakes. So it was a little bit more everybody on the same page, and it was a lot cleaner. So that was good to see from a penalty standpoint. It was also good, to have the officials out there, because I mean, it's always a battle. The D line always thinks that they're getting held, and the receivers always think that they're getting held. And yes, I'm the one that's got to, officiate practice, and and we're not calling anything out there. We're just, playing. So, but it was good. I think we had one pass interference penalty called. So overall, I thought the penalty wise, I thought it was pretty clean for us, and which I think that just shows that we're improving.
So we'll kind of transition, like I said before, getting back into spring and a routine that our returners and student athletes are going to be, that's more normal for them. They're heading home after Thanksgiving. They'll be gone till January. So yeah, it'll be nice to get them back on campus, and nice to get them back in a spring routine. Talk about some of the things that you're wanting to do in the spring in regards to spring football, maybe some potential crossover practices like the NFL does with other schools. Yeah. We've got a little flexibility there. I know some schools are going to be playing. I don't know where we stand, but I think we need to continue to push. And I like the idea of the crossover practices. And so maybe talk about that and what that can do for our team.
Yeah, I mean, I think first off, they're going to be gone for, I think, eight weeks. I think it is, which that's a little bit scary. Is trying to keep tabs on them and just trying to stay in touch with them and make sure that they're doing things the right way and finishing up the semester strong. And so and then when they get back, I think January 11th is when the classes start back up for the spring semester. What kind of shape are we going to be in, and how can we, how are we going to, get them back in the weight room and get them back to running and getting them back in shape, and what's that going to look like? And then, I mean, I think, hopefully that, we're starting to get back on track where it looks, we can get back, and kind of have a spring practice, type schedule, and then maybe throw in a scrimmage or two in there, and have some kind of a, I think for their sake, being able to go against a different color jersey than, and going against, blocking the same guy and covering the same guy on, every day and all that other stuff, and just being able to see something different and maybe see a different scheme, and make adjustments and things like that, I think are important. So definitely would like to, there's some things that are in the works, some conversations and some things that, trying to get ironed out that, we can get together with some other schools, probably twice. And I think, I think, from my standpoint and kind of from where, where our program is at right now, I think, we don't want to get too far, and I'm not really in favor of the whole playing a spring schedule. I think that's, because the big picture is to get ourselves ready for the fall of 21. So, if you play my fear of playing a schedule or an actual game, is when you play a game, you're playing your first string and your second string guys, but really for us, we need to get, some of these younger guys going, and they need to get reps so that by fall of 21, they're solid, guys that can contribute in some form or fashion. And they can get that experience against somebody else a couple times, but also not to the point where you're risking, any kind of major injuries, and you're taking care of your team and kind of get, you're basically kind of, getting your feet wet a little bit and, trying to get, good quality reps on film and be able to learn from it and teach from it. And then, just to be able to kind of keep progressing, and then, be able to go back and practice after that together and say, okay, this is something that we saw, and this is something that happened, and this other team had this scheme, and, whatever, and this is how we're going to handle it. So I think there's, I think that's definitely a, something that you're going to see in the spring. And, I know our kids they're chomping at the bit just to line up against somebody different.
Yeah.
And it'll be good for us. It'll be fun.
Yeah. I think that's going to be Southeastern football is going to benefit from that. The reps, like you said, and the terminology, and not speaking a different language anymore. We're all on the same page. And, because, when you took over, you got here in March, right? I mean, it was.
Well, I got here in January and started, hit the ground recruiting.
You didn't have coaches though until late.
Right. So, yeah.
So we'll kind of segue into that. Looking at your resume, been very successful at everywhere you've been, coming off a coach of the year at your previous institution. What drew you to Southeastern?
Well, I think, it's when I came down here and on my interview and met with Coach Baxter, it was comfortable. I had no idea. I really knew nothing about Southeastern, other than just the research that I had, done when the job opened up. And, so just coming down here, basically just kind of trying to take it all in and eyes wide open and just kind of, learn as much as I can. And obviously Coach Baxter being here as long as he has, and had been a head coach here and been an assistant and as a coordinator, and just all the different experiences that he had. And then just the people that I met along the way, and Cherry Wilmoth and Tammy, who recently retired, and some of the other coaches that I got to meet with, and it just felt very comfortable. And then I think the next part of it was the vision that the university had. I had met with President Burge, who at that time was the president, and it just seemed like they were all on the same page, and really what it comes down to when you're trying to run a program, build a program, not that this this place doesn't have to build very far. I think that there's a lot of pieces that were already in place, but I think that they really paid a lot of attention and wanted to put resources into the development of the student athletes. And I think that to me was key. How can we take the roster that they have and the pieces that they've already have, and then enhance that by the weight room that they've had since the 80s or whatever that was put in place under the bleachers, for what the coaches have done with that in place, and winning championships back in the mid 2000s, and and having winning seasons here, and rankings and all that other stuff with that. And then on top of that, saying, okay, we're going to build $1 million weight room, and we're going to have all the bells and whistles, and it's going to be one of the top weight rooms in the country, and to be able to develop in the weight room. And then on top of that, adding a full-time strength coach and a staff with Coach Fears and his experience, and the fact that he's been a part of building a weight room and designing a weight room and all that, and then and then the nutrition aspect on top of that, where where our kids are getting, the after workout chocolate milk and the bars and the nutrition bars and things like that. That's all a part of developing the student athlete. I think there were some things academically that I think they had in place that that I really liked, that helped us kind of keep track of developing our students in the classroom and working towards graduation, that were the resources were are something that is easy to use and easy for us to stay on top of our kids, so that they understand what it means to semester by semester and start working towards finishing their academic career. And so and then the other part of it is I was able to hire coaches that that have the experience of winning championships and building programs and treating kids the right way, and teaching them how to become grown men and go out into the world when they do graduate, and how to apply for a job, and how to take care of the family, and just all the things that you do after football's over, and
Right.
people don't think about. I think so. I think that there was a lot of room for improvement, but the foundation was here. You know what I mean? So it just took a little bit of obviously just getting your hands dirty and digging in, and Coach Fears and Coach Baxter, designing that weight room did an unbelievable job. And the things that we're able to do, and the things that we are able to, just the technology that we're able to use. And we're just, it's not about, and Fears will tell you a lot more about it, but and more in depth, but it's not necessarily about how much weight you can push, but how fast can you push that weight.
Right.
You know what I mean? And that's what, that's really what it comes down to for sure in football. How quickly can you, take a 300-pound offensive lineman and how quickly can you explode into that next, that 300-pound defensive lineman, and who can get there quicker. And
Right.
Those are the things that, that we're training now that I had never, seen before, and the fact that, just every rack has that, and every, we got 16 racks in there, and every rack is got, a group, 2 or 3 kids there that are, able to use that technology and the iPads and all the, it's pretty special. And, taking the recovery aspect and taking care of your body and the stretching and the, all that stuff that goes into it, that, it's not always about just lifting the weight, but it's, taking care of it and of the body and being ready to get to that next practice and have an efficient, good practice. So yeah, that was, that's what drew me here. And that's what, really, all those things combined, made me feel comfortable that we can get this thing done. And obviously last year was a tough year, but, sometimes you got to kind of sit back and take it and be patient and, kind of lay the foundation from what I know and the guys that I've worked for in the past and the experiences that I've had as a head coach, and been a part of a lot of of building programs and turning programs around, and hopefully we can hopefully people can be patient with us and we can I'm gonna have to wait another year because we didn't get to play this year, but that's obviously frustrating. You kind of have to live with that for a whole year, but I think in the long run, if we can just sit back and just keep grinding day to day and every day trying to find something that we can improve in in the program and improve in our student athletes and improve in our the way we do things, then I think at the end of the day, we're going to see results.
If you haven't seen the new weight room, you can go to our website, check it out. Obviously, we haven't been able to open it up to the public. We haven't had a grand opening yet. I'm chomping at the bit to do a grand opening because I want people to see what it is. And I'm trying to find a way where we can showcase what it used to be, because it's a weight room that I worked out in, to now what it is. And it's a completely different environment. And I think, I'm excited to see the different type of student athlete we're going to bring in over the next 10 years, because back when I was here and was getting recruited, and when I was recruiting kids, that was the eyesore. And we think that was the thing that drove people away a little bit. And it took a special kind of a person to be able to want to come to that. And now when you fill in a pool and have a 5,000 square foot area with, like you said, iPads, technology, profiles in every rack, to train to perform instead of train to just get strong, I think, I'm excited to see where that's going to take us. And I'm quite frank, I'm excited to see, when we have recruits on campus, I want to go in there when they walk in there, because I want to see their reaction, because I'm sure it's going to be very similar to our reactions when we saw it, when it got done. A little bit about that weight room too. We started finalizing that deal in the summer, getting it done. And we had student athletes in there helping us put it together. We had a lot of football guys in there helping us put it together. We had basketball players in there helping us put it together. So there's a lot of student athlete energy in that weight room. And so again, if you haven't seen it, go to GoSoutheastern.com, go to our facilities page. It's updated, ready to go. It's a beautiful facility, and we cannot wait for you to go check it out. So, Coach, I appreciate you taking time today and talking about what went on during the fall and projecting forward. I know we've got Thanksgiving coming up, and we get a week off for that. So what are your Thanksgiving plans?
Yeah, Thanksgiving is, I'm looking forward to it. We're going to go just take a little camping trip, little family camping trip, and kind of get away and go to the lake. And, my family is back in California. My wife's family is in Arizona and California. So, we're not going to have a chance to spend, Thanksgiving with them. So we just figured let's get away and we'll cook some food. And, usually this time of year, it's pretty, there's not a lot of people camping this time of year. It's usually too cold. So but we got our camper, so we'll turn the heat on and have a campfire and just kind of hang out together and cook some food on the fire, and a little bit different, but it'll be good to kind of get away and just kind of spend some family time together and all that stuff. And then, get back on the recruiting trail.
Well, I know you said the other day you're going to turn your phone off, but you may not even need to do that, because I know we were going camping in the service. You may not have any service. So
yeah.
Favorite Thanksgiving food?
Yeah, favorite pumpkin pie.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm a big pumpkin pie fan. Yeah.
You eat that before the turkey and all that, or you just wait to the end?
I've already started.
There it is.
Yeah.
Well, Storm fans, head football coach Tyler Fenwick. Coach Fenwick, what else is there that you want to say that I forgot to say or I didn't bring up?
I don't know. Gosh, I think that we talked a little bit about our staff, but I do have to say that we've got a pretty special staff.
Yes.
And I think that being able to work with the guys that I'm able to work with, and just the knowledge that they have, and I think we all make each other better, because of the experiences and all that stuff, and just the knowledge and kind of going back and forth, and the ability to recruit and all that other stuff is, we've got a really good thing going on here. I think the last thing that there's a lot of this stuff doesn't happen. A lot of, the weight room and the nutrition and, being able to outfit our kids and do the things with the Sway app and the masks and all that other stuff, is it all somehow, some form or fashion comes back to the people that support the program, the alumni, the community, people that are invested in the program and want to see this place do well. And I will say that, there's a lot of there's a lot of history here. There's a lot of just good tradition and good alumni and just good people that you see come back or send an email or whatever. And that's something that we've kind of redone the locker room and kind of did some things to our locker room that and just updated it with some pictures and some lighting and things like that. And one of the walls that we've got, I think it's like a 60-foot wall, above the lockers is kind of a tribute to the some of the guys from the past and just the tradition and the history that this place has brought. And you know, we've really tried to you know, magnify the rock that's outside of the locker room and really understand you know, that you know, the guys that are here now, the current players that we have, they wouldn't be here without the guys before them. And you know, they've got to, you know, set a good example, and they've got to you know, hold up, you know, their end of the bargain as far as representing Southeastern and you know, and also putting, you know, you know, the people that are going to come after them and the guys that we're going to recruit down the road, and understanding what Southeastern's about and what the Rock's about. And so we've, you know, me being a guy that, you know, is not an alum and that's never been here before, I've sat down with Coach Baxter and you know, listened to some of this, you know, where some of the traditions have come from and where some of the things have come from, and how we've kind of inherited things. We brought in some new stuff too, but I think there's a lot of history and memory, you know, with the alumni that have played here in the past, and that carry those with them, and it's deep in their heart. And you know, that's always, I think that's always something that you know, as a new coach, where you come in, you know, that there's so much that's happened before. You know, it's not just about me being here, but it's about, you know, how can we uphold that, you know, that passion for Southeastern athletics and Southeastern football. And you know, we've got a new saying that's, you know, the hashtag is defend the rock, and that means a lot of things. I mean, it means, you know, defend you know, our home field, you know, make the alumni proud, make the university proud, but and then, you know, also, you know, take care of the ball is, you know, another kind of a side note with the defend the rock. So there's a lot of things that it encompasses that we're trying to kind of get started, and you'll see that hashtag on our Twitter stuff. And so,
well, that's one thing that I do love about this place, is we do have a strong alumni base, but again, we've only scratched the surface. And so we're going to continue to grow. We had 317 donors give to our Strong Together project. Fantastic turnout for that. Getting people involved. We're going to continue to get people involved, with specific sports and where their interests are. We want to continue to grow that. So if you're ever interested in getting involved with us, shoot me an email, shoot Coach Fenwick an email. We will get you in touch with the right people. So Coach, I appreciate it again, taking time talking about this. We're so excited for the spring. We're going to do another one of these right after signing day to talk about some of the kids we're bringing in and stuff like that, just to continue those conversations. And so I appreciate it again. Storm fans, head football coach Tyler Fenwick, have a safe, wonderful, and happy Thanksgiving. Go Storm.
Thanks, Seth.
Thank you.